Happy Saturday, degenerates. Today is Saturday, October 11th, 2025. We are going to predict the declarations on 104 high-yield ETFs that declare this week. So we're going to jump right in. Quick announcement, I am now on X. I did pull the trigger. I don't need any more social media, but I did it because a lot of YouTubers are also on there, and they have some cool stuff. I haven't really looked into it. I don't know how to use it, but I am on there. The name is @DivDegenerates. So check that out. Let's get to the picks. We got Rex. We do Rex first. They do Monday, and some others do, but Rex, they're all Monday. They declare after the close. X date is Tuesday, payday is Wednesday, so you cannot see what they're going to pay and then buy in to get that pay. So one thing about Rex. Let's see what they're doing. NVI, the market tanked. We all know. We're not going to really talk about that Friday. Rex is a growth in income. So they got a little bit of less capped on the upside, but I think a little more exposure on the downside, which they proved they were down a little bit more than their underlyings were. But let's look at them. NVII, which is a NVIDIA. Last payments have been 21 cents, 45 cents, 23 cents, a little bit all over the place. Last one was 23. What did we give them? 29. Okay, gave them a raise. TSII is the best yielder of the REC shares at 70% based on the average of the last three. They've averaged 36 cents, and I am going to give them 34 cents, 65% yield. MSII, which is the strategy fund, average has been 8 cents. I gave them 15. I gave them a big raise. Yeah, they paid 7, 7, and 8. I'm giving them 15. The IVs on all of these are higher than they were last week. Some by a lot, some by like 20%. So strategy was up, I think about 10%, but it's still a 46% yield. So, you know, it's not stunning, but anyway. COII, which is Coinbase. Coinbase got killed yesterday, but it's on sale. They're averaging 18 cents. I gave them 27. Again, another raise. So their yield, the average yield is 45% of these four funds. I'm giving them 53% average yield for these four. Let's go to Yield Max. This one was tricky. There's a bunch of them. They're all weekly now, except the target 12s and that stuff. But let's go with the normal weeklies first. These have been weekly for a while. Chippy, and their last payment was 43 cents. I gave them 42 cents, 37% yield. GPTY, GIPTY, I like to call it. Their last payment was 30 cents. I gave them a raise, I believe. 33 cents, 35% yield. Let's freaking go Y. Last payment was 51 cents. I gave them 49 cents. QDTY. Last payment was 24 cents. I gave them 21 cents, 24% yield. RDTY, last payment was 36 cents. I gave them 32 cents. SDTY, last payment 15 cents, well, almost 16 cents. I gave them 17 cents. Salty, or I know someone calls it Slutty, their last payment, and that's a good fund right now. I mean, when the market turns down, this fund will do well. This is an inverse fund. Well, sort of. They get stocks that they're bearish on. So that last payment was 60 cents. I gave 62. Ulti, everyone's favorite. it's paid 999 the last three. Guess what? I gave them 9 because it seems to always be 9. YMAG kind of all over the place sometimes, but the last payment was 20 cents. That was a big increase from the one before. I gave him 15. YMAX, that was YMAG. YMAX, last payment was 14 cents. I gave them 12 cents. And that seems to be what happens. One goes up, one gives a higher payment, one gives a lower payment with those two. But I think last week they were both higher payments. Well, let me go back up to here. Now, the funds formerly known as Yield Max Group A. This was tricky because they paid 61 cents, 99 cents, 53 cents. So this is BRKC, Berkshire, all over the place with the divvies. It's a 19% yield based on that average. The IV is 17% on Berkshire. And they paid 2 weeks ago. And a little birdie told me, or actually a little cricket told me, that they're paying both weeks in one. And Group B, 1 week, because they paid last week. Group C, 4 weeks, all in this week. So it's going to really mess with yields and all that. We'll have to figure that out. And then Group D, 3 weeks, because they paid 3 weeks ago. And they're putting it all into this week. So yields will be crazy after we figure that out. But BRKC, I gave them 34 cents. Their last payment was 53. Oh yeah, well, the IV's down. Anyway, does anyone own that? Let's look at Crash. Inverse fund on Tesla did very well yesterday. They're averaging, their last payment was 12 cents. I gave them 8 cents. Let's see. I think a lot of I'm giving them lower payments kind of than average. The yield is 68% on Crash. I'm giving them 64. I think they're really trying to, their biggest complaint is NAV erosion, if that's what you want to call it. And I think they're trying to save on that a little bit. So I think they overpaid all year on a lot of these. So I think they're going to lower, some payments. Feet and Fivey, they were Group A. Now they're Group 1, which has an additional payday for Yield Max. They declare Tuesday, ex-date is Wednesday, payday is Thursday, along with the other normal weeklies. The rest of them, all the other groups, the single stock stuff, they declare Wednesday, ex-date Thursday, payday Friday. Kind of what we're used to, but every week on all of them. So Feet, they average 150. I gave them 75 cents, which again, it's low, but I think they're going to start cutting these to save on the NAV. They have to. I think they've overpaid. Fivey, last payment was $1.05. I gave him 56 cents, 36% yield. And it's just, the market was down so much yesterday that a lot of these predictions are going to be lower because that hurt. The NAV's already hurt from that. They really don't want to tank it any further. GUI, which is a Google, I gave them 26 cents. They're averaging 61. I think these are going to be down. OARC, last one was 34 cents. 18 cents. Kind of cut in half on a lot of these. Roblox, they paid twice, 207, 301. Those are monthly, 4-week payments. I gave them a $1.35. Ready, which trades Reddit, they paid once, $1.05. 96% is the IV. The IV is much higher than what they're paying. All these IVs went up. So I gave them $1.06. A little bit of a raise. Again, it depends what they've paid, what the IV is on the underlying, and what I think the strategy is kind of merging to. Anyway, Snowflake. Average last payment was 43 cents. They've had some big payments in the past, but 43, I'm giving them 31. Tesla, I own that if it's in blue here. Last payment was 80 cents, solid. I gave them 22. Again, they're paying more than the IV, and we got to bring some of that down. They paid 30, 39, and 80, so now I'm giving them 22. TSMY averages 78 cents, 5 cents. I cut it in half. Zomo, ExxonMobil, their IV actually went down. That, and I think the U.S. oil fund, but everything else, IVs went way up. They paid 22, 29, 21. I give them 10. Ybit, which trades on iBit. I love iBit. They paid 52, 27, and 30, kind of all over the place. I gave them 18. So those are the formerly Group A's. These are the formerly Group B's. Again, all weekly now. It's insanity. Babo. I love Babo. I own Babo. They paid 75, 79, and $1.88. They had a huge payment. It was last week. So I think I kind of kept them in the middle there. No, 22. Oh, because it's going to be weekly now, and they just declared. So they haven't built up anything for weeks like the other groups. So 22 cents, 70% yield. They're paying 90 based on the average of the last three, but 70. Dips, which is the inverse of NVIDIA, had a good day yesterday. Their average is 21 cents. I gave them 5 cents because, again, this is now weekly. They've paid 21 cents over 4 weeks, now 5. And they haven't, stocked up on anything. They paid last week. So this is more like a weekly thing. So you can kind of divide these by 4, which I didn't do specifically. I factored the IV and all that. Phoebe, which is Meta, Facebook, averages 46 cents. But again, that's per 4 weeks. I gave them 13. GDXY, everyone's starting to love that one. They've averaged 75. I gave them 16. Yield from 58 to 49. JPMO, don't own that one. Averages 33 cents per 4 weeks. I gave them 9. So these will all be cut, a quarter, sort of. Morrow. They're paying 80% yield. Average is $1.17, 32 cents. Again, kind of quartered. I actually gave them a higher yield. They're yielding 80%. I gave them 88 because now the yield is based on 52 payments of 32 cents, if nothing changed, of course. And again, not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. You know the thing. Don't listen to me. Don't buy anything based on me. Consult with a financial advisor. Murni. I love Murni. Hate Moderna. But it's cheap. It's $1.73. They're averaging 10 cents. Their yield is 71% based on that average. I gave them 3 cents because remember, 10 is a 4-week payment. This is a 1-week payment. So actually a raise. If you times 4, that's 12 cents. NVDY, NVIDIA, averages 76 cents, 17 cents. A little bit lower on the yield, from 59 to 52. Play-T, everyone loves Play-T. They're averaging $4.41 per 4 weeks. I gave them 99 cents. So times 4, kind of right on track. So that is Group B, formerly Group B. And you can see one of these tabs. Yeah, see, this is based on 13 payments. This yield is based on 52 payments. Group B, I'm sorry, that was Group B. Group C, they've had 4 weeks to make money, and they're going to pay it all this week. So you'll see very similar to what they've paid. Abney, which is Airbnb, averages 31 cents. I gave them 33 cents. Again, that's a weekly payment. That yield, yeah, that doesn't make these yields. I think I calculated wrong, but anyway, because that should be times 52 weeks. So they're going to look massive, and maybe I'll update that when I do my top 10 tomorrow. AMD, which is AMD, averages 45 cents every 4 weeks. They're going to pay 49 cents this week on a weekly basis. Now, the next week it's going to be a fourth of that probably, but this is 4 weeks packed into one. That's why this was hard. Coney, I love Coney. It is my second biggest holding. Averages 53 cents. I gave him 48. Carvani averages 217. I gave them 238. So I left the yields, the next yield, based on 13 payments. Next week, I take the average 204, 255, 190 on Carvani. The average is 217. But next week I'll take the 204, the 255, and the 190. Well, I'll take off the 204. The 255 and 190 I will divide by 4, so we get a more accurate weekly prediction. But these yields will be massive next week, whatever they declare, the annualized yield, because they're paying 4 weeks in 1 week. Anyway, hope that makes sense. Dre, which is DraftKings, they've paid twice, $219, $156. New fund, I gave them $1.89. Fiat, I love Fiat. I own Fiat. It is the Coinbase inverse. They did well yesterday. They're averaging 106% yield. That's the winner of all the yield max. If it's in green, it wins the entire sheet. So, you can hate on Fiat all you want. It's cheap. It's $2.43. They're averaging 20 cents every 4 weeks. And remember, they're paying 4 weeks worth this week. I gave 17. Gamey, which is GameStop, they haven't paid yet. So I just went with the IV. I don't look at their income. I do look at the price drops. Their IV is 45% on GameStop. So I really just went with the IV. And then we'll get a more accurate picture once they start declaring and distributing. I gave them $1.72. That's just based on the IV. Hui, which is a Robinhood, averaging 487 every 4 weeks. I gave him 480. MSFO, Microsoft, averages 35 cents every 4 weeks. This week, 38 cents. Netflix, which is Netflix, averages 44 cents, 49 cents. PayPal, PP, whatever you want to call it, it's PayPal, is the underlying, averages 29 cents. I gave him 40 cents. Okay, that was it for Group C. Now we're into formerly known as Group D, and that's the last of them. AIYY, remember they paid 3 weeks ago, so I'm putting 3 weeks of payments in this week. They've averaged 15 cents. I gave them 11. Because remember, 15 cents is every 4 weeks. The last 3, I predict 11 cents they've made that they're going to pay. So they're not paying a full 4 weeks, they're paying a 3 weeks. So these will all be lower than the average. And we'll have to figure all that next week. If you look at the formula, I divide by 52 weeks now, and then times 3 weeks. So I figure out what the weekly payment would be, and then times 3 because they haven't paid in 3 weeks, and they're putting it all in this week. Hope that makes sense. AMZ averages 53 cents. I gave 9 cents. Pretty similar yield. It's AMZ's 46%. I gave him 45. Apple, which is Apple, averages 37 cents per share. Gave him 26. Again, 3 weeks worth. Daiso, Disney is the underlying. Not a fan. Love Disney World. Just not a fan of the company. I do not own it. They average 28 cents. I gave them 21. But again, almost identical yield. 28.48, 28.54, I predict. HIYY. I'm excited to see this one. They have not paid yet. This is Hims and Hers. That thing's been all over the place. The IV is 73%. And I just gave them the IV of $2. Misty. I own Misty. I love Misty. Yes, it's been down. It's a great fund. I mean, it's paying well. This yield is based on the average of the last 3 payments and the current price, which was way down yesterday. So these yields will look higher. But 104% yield. Average is $1.09. That has been going down and down and down. So they are going to pay 68 cents. But again, that's 3 weeks worth. $1.09 divided by 4, what's that? 20, I don't even know. Much less than 68. But I did bring their yield down to 86%. SimC, which is a super microcomputer, is the underlying. Averages $1.36. I give them 93. Again, kind of these will all be 3/4 of the normal payment, plus or minus IV calculations and stuff like that. Winter had a great day yesterday. It's an inverse on strategy, kind of the inverse of Misty. Not a 1-to-1 hedge, but I like Winter. I don't own it, but I do watch it. They average 238, which is 104% yield. The IV is only 67 on strategy. It did go up. I think it was 58 last week. So it's 67 now. They're averaging 238 per share. I gave them $1.47. XYZY, which is Block, used to be Block or Square or both. I don't know. It's a weird ticker. It used to be Squee. Remember that? Squee. Averages 46 cents per share. I gave them 35. And then YQs, which is a short NASDAQ 100, an inverse sort, if you want to call that. They've averaged 21 cents. I gave them 16 cents So the yields on Yield Max are average 56% if you own all these. I'm giving them 55% on my predictions. So, pretty similar. But again, it's weird with going to weekly with, 4 weeks, 3 weeks, 2 weeks. Anyway, let's go to Defiance. Not as many to cover, so we're getting there. MST is averaged 15 cents per share, average of the last 3. I gave him 13 because again, strategy's been down. AMDU, which is AMD, AMD's been all over the place. They've averaged 16 cents a share. I gave them 25. Because they're paying 32% when the IV is 66. I had to bring them up some. So I brought them up to a 49% yield. HEMI, which is a Hims and Hers, HEMY, 33, 50, and 51 they've paid. I gave them 46. The IV is 110% on Hims and Hers. So that's insanity. And their yield is 106. They are the winner of the Defiance funds as far as yield goes. Average of the last 3 with the current price. Robinhood. I trade on Robinhood. I love Robinhood. The average is 24. I gave him 30. PLT, which is a Palantir underlying. They've averaged 17. I gave him 21 cents. SMCC, which is a super microcomputer. And again, Defiance, it's a 1 to 2 times leverage strategy. So they will struggle on the downside a little more than just a 1 to 1 leverage. But they paid 20, 33, and 33. I gave them 34. WDTE, which is the S&P, target 30. Averages, last payment was 20 cents. I gave them 18. QQQY, which is a NASDAQ. Their last payment, 19 cents. I gave them 17. IWMY I do own. That's a Russell. Last payment was 23 cents. And they were stable for a while, but now they're a little bit all over the place. They paid 36, 22, 23. That 36 was really weird. I gave them 27. USOY, which is U.S. Oil Fund, is the underlying. What did they pay last? They're like Ulti. 9 cents, 9 cents, 9 cents. So what do you think I gave them? 9 cents. 65% yield. If you want some oil exposure, that's a good one. Goldie, which is gold. Gold is the underlying, that is. Last payment was 18 cents. I gave him 15 cents. So the Defiance funds are averaging 57.6% yield. I moved that up to 61% on average. Again, the winner is HEMI. 106% is what they've paid based on the last 3. Yield Boost. I love Yield Boost. They declare Thursday. Ex-date is Friday. Payday is Tuesday. COYY. It's averaging 50 cents per share over the last 3. I gave them 45 cents. That's still 147% yield. I mean, if you want to diversify with Yield Boost, I'll show you the average at the bottom. It's insane. They're all good. TSYY, which they trade a double leverage Tesla fund. TSLL is the underlying. Average is 22 cents. And again, it's cheap. It's only $8. And I gave them 19 cents. Yep, I gave them a little drop. HOYY, which is Robinhood. Again, look at the IVs. These are double leverage, so 142% IV. They're paying 151%. So when I do see that, I do usually give them a little bit of a drop. They average 67. I gave them 66. SMYY trades on a double leverage SMCI fund. Averages 68 cents per share. Again, these are all weeklies. 73, because their IV is higher than what they're paying. And I mentioned it in the video yesterday, Granite shares are capped on the upside. They just sell puts, the premium, that's your upside. But they buy a put to protect the downside. So all these underlyings, double leverage, they went down, twice as much as the single funds. For example, the Tesla one, Tesla went down, TSLL went down almost double, as expected. These only went down about half of what the double leverage did. So, insane. PLYY, Palantir. Average is 46 cents, gave him 51. MTYY, which is a double leverage on MicroStrategy, averages 43 cents, gave them 46. XBTY, 37 is the average. I gave them 33 cents, still a 91% yield. These yields are massive. NVYY, which is a double leveraged NVIDIA, averages 44 cents every week. I gave them 41. AMYY, which is the AMD, look at the IV, 124%. And they're paying 97%. So they average 46 cents. I took them up to 53 because they're not paying the IV on some of these. So I give them a little more. AZYY, double leverage Amazon, averages 22 cents. I gave them 28. TQQY, double leverage on the Qs, averages 18 cents. And I gave them 22. And if you look, TQQY, the yield, it's the lowest of yield boost, Granite shares, and it's at 49%. That's not bad, and that's on an index. Of course, the highest is 164 on COYY, which I do own, and it's just insanity. And they're pretty consistent. I mean, sometimes they're all over the place, but the yields aren't really dropping much. So the last one's YSPY. That is a triple leverage on SPY, on the S&P. They've averaged 19 cents every week. I gave them 20. So if you go down a little, they're averaging 105.43% yield based on the average of the last three payments and the current price, and then you get a yield, and then I average the yield among all of them, 105%. So it's clearly that as a whole, they're doing something right as a company. I gave them 105.44% yield, so they went up 100th of a percent. So Income Blast, there's only one, don't worry about it. It's BITK, it's a new one, I covered it. They do have a ton of funds coming out, I believe November 5th, I heard. As those come in, I've already put in the tickers and kind of what they're going to be covering or trading on. They do a synthetic and covered calls. The BITK does 0 DTE on IBIT, which only has a weekly expiration. So I don't know if they just do it on Fridays or what. But we'll do a deeper dive into those. But they are paying a 217% yield based on two payments. They paid $1.50 and $50, so I average them, it's $1. The IV on IBIT is only 43%. So, a lot of these new funds, they just jack up the distribution to get attention, and they have. Their AUM is going up. People are putting money into it, but we'll see how how it steadies out. But I did buy some, and I will keep an eye on this, of course. So what's the next payment going to be? Well, I'm not going to give it that high. I gave him 60 cents. A little bit back to earth, but that's still 130% yield. So that is, it's called Income Blast. I love the name, from Tuttle Capital. And we will start following this. And then last but not least is Roundhill. Roundhill, you get a payment every day if you with various of the funds. But anyway, WPay, last payment was 73 cents. I gave him 71, 69% yield, almost 70% yield. YBTC, which is a Bitcoin, last payment was 37. I gave them 40. ETH, which is a Ethereum base. They have various Ethereum funds. It's not just Ethereum. And their last payment was 36 cents. Again, these are weekly. I gave them 38. XDTE, the worst yielder of the Roundhill funds at 21%. Still not bad. I mean, 10 years ago, it's unheard of to have 21%. Their last payment was 21 cents. And I gave them 18. QDTE, last payment was 20. I think I gave them 20. 20. That's a 30% yield. RDTE, which is a Russell, 22 cents was the last payment. I gave him 26. Gave him a little raise. Maggie is a Mag 7. Mags is their underlying, their own fund. A little double dipping. I like it. It's degenerate. Last payment was 37 cents. I gave him 37 cents. AAPW, which is Apple. And again, Roundhill is, I believe they try to do like 1.2 capture of the upside. Apple, AAPW, last payment was 38 cents. I gave him 31. Let me scroll down a little so we can see these. AMDW, which is an AMD fund, last payment was $1.19. I gave him 84 because AMD just shot up and then it shot down. So I'm surprised the IV is only 66. I thought it'd be higher. AMZW, which is Amazon, 51 cents. I gave him 42 because they're overpaying the IV. But I still gave him a 49% yield. The IV is 44. AVGW, Avgo, last payment 92 cents. They're averaging 78 cents. I gave him 64. BRKW, Berkshire is the underlying. They're averaging 28 over the last three, 28 cents. I gave him 22 cents. COIW, 112% yield based on the last three. $1.15 was their last one. I brought them back to earth, I believe. 83 cents. Still 93% yield, so nothing wrong with that. GOW, which is Google, a Google fund. They average 67. I gave them 56 cents, 51% yield. WHOW, everyone loves this one. At one point before yesterday, WHOW launched in June at $40. It was at 84. I believe the end of last week or maybe the first of this week. It's down to 76 now, but it had doubled in price. And it's paying 140% yield. So I like this fund. Don't own it yet. I don't own any Roundhill, believe it or not, but that's why I keep this spreadsheet. I want to see one pop up. to buy. So averaging 207 per share. I gave them $1.60, still 108%. METW, Meta, Facebook, and they're averaging 48 cents per share, and I think I gave them pretty close to that. 44 cents, 53% yield. MSFW Strategy averages 38 cents per share. I gave them 33. Just a few more, guys. Hang in there with me. And let me know what you think of these. Again, with the Yield Max one, it was difficult. But these have been weekly, so let me know what you think in the comments, of course. Hit the like button. This was a lot of work. Give me the like just for that. MSTW Strategy averages 68 cents. I gave them 53 cents. NFLW, not the National Football League, it's Netflix. Averages 44 cents. I gave them 39. NVDW, NVIDIA, is the underlying. 83 cent average. 62 cents, so a drop. PLTW, which is a Palantir is the underlying. 94 cent average. 101% yield. I gave them 80 cents and 86% yield. Because again, everything was down yesterday, and I think they got to take that into consideration. They can't pay you what they don't have, and if they do, the fund goes away. So we don't want that. TSLW, Tesla, last one. Bear with me. 82 cent average. 63 I gave them, so I dropped them quite a bit. The average of Round Hill, is 69% yield. My estimates are I gave them 59% yield, so I did drop them quite a bit. They overpaid in my opinion too. A couple weeks ago they were paid. All these were like 100% yields, and they still have several. So stay tuned to my top 10 tomorrow. I'll go over the top 10 degenerate funds, the highest yield, and I usually buy number 1 on Monday. So we'll talk about it. I don't have much else, but do please leave a comment, let me know, and I'll be in the live chat, and we can, make fun of my estimates. Anyway, have a great Saturday, and we'll see you on the other side.